right. Thank you, Chris, our great enthusiastic host. And congratulations, winners. And there's more of that to come throughout the day. Before we start today, and we're going to put up that first, that. I became a kids ministry volunteer because I want you to turn to the person next to you and finish that statement and be honest. Maybe it's because the children's champion bugged you. Maybe if, like my husband, because I serve in kids ministry, he serves in kids ministry. So be honest with each other why I became a kids ministry volunteer. Tell the person next to you. Alrighty, for some of you I can tell this was a life story to become a kids ministry volunteer. All right, if you open up in your books to page 4, we're going to start there filling in the blanks. And one is a playbook and the other one says a line on the front of it. That's the one you want, the lighter color blue one there. And so our first session, why we do what we do. And we always start this session with our mission statement. And at Bridgewater, our mission statement is making more and better disciples of Jesus. And in kids ministry, we say to introduce kids to Jesus and help them grow to be more like him. See lives transformed. So that's your first blank you're filling in there, transformed. Lives changed, that's our goal. We want to see people take their next step. And of course, that's not something we do, that's something that God does. But we get to be a part of that. And that's why you're all here today, because we get to be a part of God's story in the life of kids and their parents. And what a huge opportunity. And as the children's director at Bridgewater, I get to travel to all our campuses and observe and serve. And so I'm going to start with some stories today of just things I've seen as I've gone to the other campuses and how you volunteers have inspired me and taught me things and just really made me thankful to God for who he has supplied for us here at Bridgewater. And the first story I'm going to tell is about Chris, our host. And this story is so opposite of what you saw this morning. But when I was at Halstead, I think it was the beginning of him leading large group, and he was talking about Adam and Eve and how when they sinned, it brought sin into the whole world. And he got choked up as he was telling that to the kids, which then made me choke up. But I was just so moved by that hit him to the core as he was sharing that. It showed how much meaning that had to him and showed the sincerity to the kids about what a big deal it is that sin entered into the world. And so I just thought that was amazing to see that from Chris. In Montrose here, we have a lot of teens who serve, and they're really good at it, and we're thankful for them because I'm not sure how we would be able to function without them. But as at all your campuses, we have some special needs kids, and you know Sunday mornings that can bring drama and tears to your classroom. And one morning I was teaching in kindergarten first here, and there were a couple twin boys that have special needs, and so sometimes they have a hard time transitioning from the small group to go out to large group, or large group to come back to small group. Well, this particular morning, what we did in that social pre-time had them upset, so there was no going out to large group. So I took the whole group out to large group, and I kind of stood in the doorway so I could keep an eye on them and an eye on the kids. Well, one of our teens went in and started chatting with them, so I sat down with the group and got involved in the large group. And the next thing I knew, these two boys came out. So later I said, Mia, what did you say to them? Because there's no convincing them to come out. And she said, well, I just let them talk, and I listened, and we talked about some other things, and then I said, you ready to go out? And they came out. And it was just cool to me for that teenager to go in there and take that time and patience and show love and a listening ear to them, and that made all the difference. And I couldn't have done that. I had the rest of the group I had to watch, and so I was so thankful for our teens and just their participation and what they bring to it really makes a difference. Our next story is going to be actually on video, and so we're going to watch Janelle tell her story.
So I started attending Bridgewater, and what I loved about the church was the people. People would pull you in and just make you feel loved, but I still didn't feel connected with people on a personal level. So my son moved up to pre-K, and as I was dropping him off weekly, Heather would ask every now and then if I would be interested in serving. And I would tell her no, because I wasn't capable of it. I wouldn't necessarily tell her that, but I didn't feel that I was mature enough with Bible knowledge to teach even the pre-K room, because I'd gotten saved like later in my teens, and I really didn't know a lot of the Bible other than the book of John. So after being asked many times, I decided to finally say yes to her because I figured if my kid was in the class, it would be fine. I wouldn't be by myself. I could do it and, be comfortable. So I served there for 3 months and realized that it wasn't really a good fit for me, but I still wanted to serve. So that's when we opened up the New Montrose Church and they were looking for greeters. So I decided to be one of them for the children's ministry and fell in love with just welcoming people, getting to know people. I felt that it was an easy way to be pushed out of my comfort zone just to get to know people because I wouldn't do it on my own if I wasn't serving. After serving at Montrose for probably a couple of years, our church started getting other campuses, and every time we were told that we were, opening up a new church, not one part of me felt like that was for us, until Pastor Brett had told us that we were given the Tunkhannock Baptist Church. When I heard that, I kind of felt like this pit in my stomach. It actually made me sick to think about it because I didn't want to leave Montrose. I finally felt like I had a home, I made friends, and everything was going so good, but I knew that as soon as they said Tunkhannock, that's where we were supposed to go. I definitely fought it. Pastor Rich had asked me if I would consider praying about it, and the only reason I said yes is because I can't say no to someone asking me to pray about something. So my husband and I felt that was what we were supposed to do. After serving there for a few years, I was given this great opportunity to be the children's coordinator, and I just loving on people and watching them grow and seeing people take that next step into serving, just watching them connecting with people and learning to love people. If I could tell somebody new to serving or someone thinking about serving a few things to think about or to look at, I would say that first of all, you're serving God. Don't look at it like you're, necessarily serving the church. You're serving God and growing closer to Him. And also, fellowship was big for me. It allowed me to meet a lot of new people, connect with people that have the same passions and desire as you with kids ministry. And lastly, it is an opportunity to grow. I feel that it has allowed me to grow in so many different areas that I didn't think that I would ever grow in. I never thought that when I started teaching in pre-K that I would be the children's coordinator just a few years down the road, nor did I want to. But God has just given me this desire and this growth that I can't say no to.
And Janelle is one of our champions at Tunkhannock. And I just want to do a shout out to our champions because we have some pretty amazing champions at Bridgewater. And just like you, they are all busy and they have stuff going on in their life, and yet they have to be here every Sunday morning and make sure if they're not here that they have someone to cover, which is you guys. And so they are very grateful for you guys that you cover for them. But I just wanted to tell you a few things they've been through this last year. One of them, the month of December, when it's crazy busy, got a phone call that a 2-month-old baby was available. They'd been praying about adopting, and here they get this phone call. You can come pick up this baby. And so they did, amidst all this stuff and Christmas time and kids ministry, and which was a huge answer to prayer and a blessing to them. And now you'll see Heather carrying around her little one Sunday mornings as she serves faithfully with that little one. But I'm just thankful for her and that she keeps being faithful, even with this new baby in her family. That huge change for them, but she stayed faithful. Then another one of our champions, she fought breast cancer this past year and is doing great. Way to go, Dawn. Two other of our champions also had surgeries this year and have had complications in recovering that they are still dealing with to this day. So, these women are tough. They love what they do. They're passionate about you guys. They're passionate about God. They're passionate about kids. And that's why they keep going even when life gets hard. And so I'm really thankful for them. And now I want to get to more of our whys that we do kids ministry. And so if you look back in your books, we are in a spiritual battle against this world's philosophy. Whoops, excuse that. So this dark world that we live in, we are ministering to a tough time. Attention spans have been reduced to 4 minutes, the average length of a YouTube video. And you know that we are in a digital society, which can be really good, but it can be really bad. But because of that, that affects how we teach. Gender identification and human sexuality have come into question. And this just breaks my heart that, even counselors are told that when kids are confused about their gender or homosexual feelings, that they're not allowed to counsel them on that. So we need to be sure that we are teaching them the truth of how God sees them, how valuable they are, because they're not going to get that in the world. Kids can access information for which they are not ready. Profanity, violence, sexual content is common. Pornography is easily accessible. Truth is seen as relative. What's fake looks real. And truth and lies are presented as equal. So we are the truth. The church is the truth that our world needs to hear. And all this ugliness, it really shouldn't surprise us. 2 Timothy 3, 1-3 says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good." And the list goes on. So this darkness in this world really affects this generation, and we are the light to them. And it kind of makes me feel like Moses when he was in the battle against the Amalekites, and as long as he had his rod up, they were winning that battle, but when he would lower because he was tired, then the Amalekites would start winning, and Aaron and Hur had to come alongside and help hold up his arms. Well, that's us. We're the ones that come alongside parents and help them in this spiritual battle. We are up against a sizable force and need to be fighting for the lives of kids. We only get 1 to 2 hours a week with them, so let's make it count. And we're going to talk later about partnering with parents, but we know this job isn't just ours, that we are like that, Aaron and Hur to parents. So how? How do I fulfill this mission? Well, first of all, be there. Put away distractions so kids and parents are our focus. Have strong small groups with growing relationships. When the kids come Sunday morning, are they happy to see you? That's kind of a measure about how good of a relationship you're having with your small group. Are they ready to talk to you about their week? If that's not the case, maybe you need to think about, how am I doing with my relationship with kids? Be on the floor with them, playing, talking, and most importantly, listening. Show up consistently so you're more connected to your kids' ministry and to your small group. I just talked with a couple teachers from school, and they said, and as a teacher in the classroom, you have these kids every week, so they get to know how you are and how you do things. And at church, these kids are there once a week. They might get different small group leaders, and so it's hard to develop that good relationship and that good classroom discipline. And so consistency is really important. And pray for your kids and follow up with them each week. I know you have kids in your small group that are really going through tough things. So take time to talk about what they're going through and pray for them and follow up with that. Kids matter, and being there consistently matters in order to have the greatest impact in their lives. You matter and have a vital role in what God is doing in kids' lives. The next way that we fulfill our mission is to stay on course, and we have what we call Bridgewater Constants, which are Be Kids acrostic. So the first one is biblically relevant. Biblically relevant. Showing kids that God's word has answers to help them live for God and follow him right now where they're at. We're kid-targeted. As you saw this morning with our crazy guys up front, we try to bring contagious fun for kids in singing, Bible lessons, and activities. Igniting growth. We use themes and bottom lines to help them apply God's truth. So that's why it's so important that they hear that theme every week and that we make sure in our small groups we cover that bottom line. Doing life together, that's the D, doing life together. Small group leaders, building relationships with kids, modeling a life of following Jesus, and encouraging parents to be involved in their child's spiritual growth. Safe environment. We want to provide a physically, spiritually, and emotionally secure environment so kids and their parents are at ease. And so any of you who are dads on duties, you're a part of that. Just make sure you come across as warm and friendly, even though you're looking out for stuff and not like Mr. Bouncer. Another way we can accomplish our why is to arrive early, because someone is counting on you to show up and make a difference. You can only make one first impression. And if a first-time visitor comes and you're not in the classroom or you're not prepared, that does not give a very good first impression. The best you can do for kids is to be prepared. When you get to your small group, are you last minute looking over your lesson, cutting up stuff, getting stuff around? Or are you actually one-on-one talking with the kids and paying attention to them? That's really important. It's an honor to serve God in kids ministry, so give him your best. And Janelle touched on that in her video, that we're doing this for God. So remember that. Give God your best. Safety, safety, safety. If you're there early and you are got everything set up and ready, your classroom is going to look more safe because you're actually paying attention and you're aware of what's going on. So you can be counted on. That's really important, especially to your champions. They're only one person. They can't cover all the classrooms and people who are late and people who aren't ready. So make sure that you're there early so you can be counted on. And the fourth thing is attend church. You need to invest in your own spiritual life through corporate worship and listening to God's word. And I know at our Vestal campus, that's a little more difficult. You only have one service, so you guys have to take turns serving so that you can get to church. But those of you with 2 services, you should be attending one and serving one. You need to set an example about the importance of attending church. So now think about that question again. I want to serve in kids ministry. Why? And as you think about these things, maybe that'll change your why you need to be serving. So I've turned to the next page, and actually we're going to skip that and look at the next steps. These are some things we want you to work on. You know, maybe being more consistently, maybe being there early, maybe you're the one who always races in there at the last minute. Intentionally working on a better relationship with a child and their parent. Going to church, being prepared, not just with your lesson, but in your heart and mind, and praying for your kids. So think about where you need to take your next step as a small group leader. And as you can see on the page before that in your book, we have the expectations and protections. I would encourage you as a next step to maybe read through that. I know when you do the application process, you have to sign that you read the expectation and protection policy, but I don't know how many of you really do, or if it's like those things, you know, when you're on the internet and it says, did you read this? And you say yes. So make sure you read that. I highlighted some of it. It's not the complete expectations, but there's really good stuff. Okay, Tina, I need you got the bag. We're going to draw from this next bag and do some more drawings, and then we'll get into our next session.